This summer I picked up a Northern Telecom DisplayPhone, and these things are notorious for having leaky batteries. Of course, I found that out months after I bought it, so today I'm going to take it apart and see if I can't get into the battery. So the first thing I'll need is this little pokey tool. I got this one with a cell phone, I believe. We're just going to stick that in a tiny hole in the back. So you can see there's this hole in the back. You stick it in here, you push the plastic through and lift at the same time. And then this one's a little sticky, so I find I just have to go around the edges a little bit to just sort of separate the face, and that should come right off. So from there, I'm guessing I probably have to take out these two screws here, since they seem to be holding everything together, and that looks like it's just a slot screwdriver, so I'll grab one of those and start moving stuff around. Okay, I got my screwdriver, so I'm just going to slide it in there, and hopefully this is all it takes. And they are tight. Okay, well, they are big screws too, long ones. Okay, so with those two screws off, the display portion just seems to lift right out and reveal more screws. These are a little tighter than the first two. It's a little slow with the screwdriver, so we're going to use the power tools. Oh, that one's not going at all. Let's get it up a little bit. Much better. So that makes 4 screws off now. And I suspect these are just plastic clips holding it on at this point. There we go, that unclipped. And now I should be able to just sort of take the whole thing off and unhook this as well. Dropped the glass on my foot. Fortunately, it didn't break. So be careful, those are not very well attached. It looks like actually one of my 2 clips was broken off there already. It should have 2 and I only had 1 on there. I think if I had the second clip it would have stayed on just fine. Anyhow, we were just about to take the power off here. And actually, I suspect it's not just power. It looks like it's power and data coming across the same connector, because it's the only connection to the screen. So I'm just sort of gently pulling it out there Let's see if I can get my screwdriver in there to move it a little faster. It does not want to move. The plastic on the back has a clip. Okay, I was able to get the left out. No, right, it's still being finicky. There we go. Okay, got the display off. And you can see that is a very deep ridge there, behind there. So if you're taking one of these apart yourself, have fun with that part. So next up we have this little ribbon cable here. That should just pull right up. And the speaker is attached. So I'm actually going to unhook the speaker. I don't want to unhook the cable since I'd have to remember where they went. There's only two cables. J17 is red slate and J16 is black and blue. So I'm just going to write that down. So yeah, I'm not going to overcomplicate things by doing all those screws. I'm just going to pull these two little jumpers here. Maybe. They are snug. Okay, I'm going to try getting them out with some pliers here. Much easier. Gotta have the right tool for the job. Okay, now I have the case off. So there's two boards on here. One above, one below. And this right here is our battery. So, let's take this apart a little further here. That doesn't seem to be secured to much. Okay, that doesn't appear to be secured to anything. There's a ribbon cable on the bottom part of this for the keyboard. And these red and blue wires are also connected. So I think the best way to approach this is to write down those two wires and then to remove them. And this is the ribbon cable for the keyboard, so I'm going to see if I can't get that out as well. Okay, so I'm just going to pull these two out. And then gently see about this. This is our battery right here. It's a nickel cadmium 2.4 volt. Pretty basic battery. You can buy those on Amazon or just about anywhere. And there's the bottom of it. So this is the processor board here. This is where all the brains are. This one right here is probably what drives it. But I don't know. I'm not an expert on this sort of stuff. But I definitely need to get that battery off of there. It doesn't look like the battery's done too badly. It's not corroded at all. I'll bring it right up to the camera so you can get a better look. There's the data sentry. It's a nickel cadmium model DS25D 2.4 volts by General Electric. So, that looks like it's got a few solder points on it. I did not get my soldering gear set up today. This was just a discovery mission. And we have discovered that soldering is definitely going to happen. So what I'll have to do And I'm going to replace the battery even though it looks like it's still okay, just because it is 40 years old. This board was made in 1982. And the solder points are just underneath here. So what I'll probably have to do is desolder it and get it off, and then just put in a battery holder and battery inside of it. But there you have it. It's not too difficult to take one of these apart. I suspect putting it together is going to be just as fun. And there is a bit of problem here on this main board here with some corrosion around those caps. So it's likely going to need to be recapped. That's not something I have the skill set to handle either, so I'm going to probably outsource that to somebody. My friend Carl, who goes by PhoneFreak02, is probably the guy I'm going to ask to do it, because he's really good at that sort of stuff. And, you know, he'll let me know how hard it is after he finishes recapping his own, because he is going to have to recap one. He's actually got 2 of these. So he could conceivably have a phone call between the systems. Not me, though. I just got the one. I'm going to have to call Carl. So I'm just fed those 2 wires back through. And you can see this keyboard sort of hides underneath the board here. You wouldn't know it was there if you didn't know where to look. So that's going back in place. Got my jacks at the back here. So it uses 2 lines. I don't know for sure, but I suspect one of the lines is for voice and one is for data. Let's get these knobs lined up properly here. There we go. Oops, still not lined up properly. There we go. Now they're lined up properly. So I've got these 2 to connect. So my black blue is going to go to J27. Hopefully. There we go. And then my orange black, or is it orange blue? No, it's orange red, sorry. That's going to go to J26. And then I'm going to hook my speaker back up. So J16 is my black blue. And J17 is my slate red. Okay, and I'm just going to close it back up like that. There's 2 clips in the front that have to go in first, and then everything just sort of rests. We'll get those screws in a moment. I'm going to hook up this touchpad here. These old ribbon cables leave a lot to be desired. Since these cables were manufactured, they've come a long way. Now they have locking mechanisms for the cables so that you don't have to force them in. Yeah, I'm just going to zip these screws back in. I'm not going to over tighten them because I don't want to break the very old brittle plastic. Okay, so next up we're going to reattach the screen. So get this cable back in. And it's pretty easy to see where the cable ends up because there's 3 pins missing, and they're also missing on the connector. So I'm just going to clip that back in place delicately. And I'm going to slide this back in. Helps if I put it in the right way. There's the 2 screw holes are there, so you can sort of see they do line up. If you put this on upside down, the screw holes don't line up with anything other than air, which is obviously not right. So, just going to slide these back in. 2 screws. I'm not going to be able to use that because of the angle. Make these nice and tight. Not too tight because I am going to have to take this back apart to get it recapped. Okay, a little bit more. There we go. And then just the plastics are left. So you see there's the clip that we were pushing back. I'll show you the camera. So there it is right there. And yeah, all we were doing was just pushing that clip out to get that plastic cover off. So same as before, there's 2 places at the front where that hooks in, so you got to sort of bring it down. Let me turn this so you get a better view. So there's these slots here and these hooks. So I'm just sliding it down so you go underneath. Make sure all the cables are tucked away nicely at the back. And of course this is no longer bending out the way I expected it to clip in. So that's another problem with old plastic. It doesn't always stay the way you expect it to. Yeah, so that's going to be problematic. But that's fine. We'll worry about that later. This cable's tucked back in there. And finally just reattaching the front screen. So, clips in the bottom. Squeeze onto the top there, and that should all hold in place, but it's not holding the way I wanted it to. So if I'm looking at it, actually, I was wrong. I got to put this on first. So there's these slots here. Yeah, can you see them? It's hard to show you, but these appear to sort of slide down. Maybe. Oh no, they slide up from the bottom. So I got to take this whole thing apart again, get those 2 screws out. I had to put the screen on first. Lesson learned. Don't do what I did. And again, the manual driver, because of the angle here. get in there. It is just really... Nope. Suppose if I got an extension arm, I could probably get it to go in at the angle I need, but I don't have one of those handy. I have lots of them, they're just not in this room. Come on, Aaron. Almost there. Out. We'll get the screen put on properly. So this looks like it goes on the bottom. It slides up. And there we have it. Now, same as before, slide everything into place carefully. I'm take my screws right out. Get everything lined up. And now that the screen is in place, it's not rolling off nearly as easily. I'm just going to reattach these two screws. I went out to the toolbox and I got an extension. And again, I'm not over tightening. 40-year-old plastic doesn't like to be tightened too much. So now, final step here. You just go in like that. And there we go. It's not really holding perfectly, but this is what happens when you've got old plastics, right? Perfect-ish. So there you have it. That is the disassembly and inspection of a DisplayPhone from 1982. Hopefully someday I'll be able to show you how it actually works. There's the keyboard that we saw underneath. Very small keyboard. And I don't know what it's used for other than configuring the thing. But we're going to find out.